Yes, ma'am. Hello,
Okay.
everyone. Today we have Neelam Ahirwar. She is graduate and postgraduate in forensic science from University in Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh. Today she is here with us to talk about fingerprints in detail. So, can we start now?
Sure, Navita. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. Pleasure to be here and having this session. Thank you very much.
Okay, ma'am. So, we can move to the question. The first question is, what is a fingerprint and how is it left on a surface?
Okay. Um, Fingerprint is actually my major subject, and I'm quite well conversant with all the facts. So, starting with the basic, this is also a basic question, I'll start with what is fingerprints. So, your next question is how it is left on a surface.
Yes.
Okay. Fingerprints are actually impressions which, whenever somebody touches their palm or palm side of the hands and plantar side of the foot, there are friction ridges present. Whenever somebody touches any objects or surface, there is a coating which is deposited onto the surface. That coating creates an impression which is known as fingerprints. And this coating can be of anything. Generally, it consists of sweat because in our sides, palmar sides and plantar side of foot, there are friction ridges which contain sweat glands. So, sweat is one of the most important constituent which compose fingerprints. And this is how, whenever somebody touches any objects or hold any object, our fingerprint gets deposited there.
Okay, ma'am. The second question is, what kind of results can be expected from a fingerprint analysis?
What kind of result? Okay. Actually, first of all, analysis can be of different types. Our major result depends on what is the question that is to be asked. You know very well in India, there is a questionnaire in every case which has been given to with every different cases. So it depends, the analysis result depends on the questionnaire given with along with the case. But generally, in the result analysis, it is mentioned about the case details, and then after that, what are the methods that we have employed to develop those prints if we are talking specifically about fingerprints, and then after that what is our conclusion, whether it is identified, whether it is not identified, or whether we cannot give any opinion about it. So it basic report consists of three parts, and that is about the case, how even this is also mentioned how the evidence has been brought to the lab, in what condition. To maintain this, all these are recorded to, so that the chain of custody should be maintained. And after that, the methods that we have employed, and last thing which is included is the result, whether it is identified or not identified, or we cannot derive any conclusion.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is, how long can a fingerprint impression remain on a surface?
How long? Actually, this is a very practical based question, and evidences are there. Even in the books it is written that there are different methods to develop fingerprints, like chemical method is one such method. There is one method which is very common, and that is ninhydrin. And in literature it is written that as old as 40-year-old print, there was a student diary, and from that a print which is 40 years old has been developed with the help of ninhydrin. So according to literature, if we'll go, 40 years is like, till now I have read in books, that is the it can remain on surface. And because it is a porous surface, so I'll it is about porous surfaces, it can remain last. And then non porous, like it is because the constituents are not absorbing onto the surface, so it is very viable with environment factors, like if wind, heat, these all like smudge the prints very fast on non-porous surfaces. So for non-porous, in literature I have not read any such thing, but I have done experiment by myself, and I have found that till like 10 to 20 days we can develop, even if it is open air environment. For example, if sunlight is also coming, air is also there, dust particles also settle down. So like 20 days, 25 days, we can develop the print on an open air environment over a non-porous surface. After that, the visibility of the print decreases.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, so the next question is, how does a fingerprint scanner work?
Fingerprint scanner, biometric system. It is nowadays very common and very commonly adopted by Indian citizens as well. In India also it is very acceptable now. As with the technology is increasing on a very high pace, everybody now is familiar with fingerprint sensors, because in now smartphones also are having fingerprint sensors. In offices also there is a use of biometric system for attendance purpose. Colleges and then many more, like many more organizations are using this technology scanner. It is a part of biometric system, fingerprint biometric system, and it works. Actually there are three types of scanners. Basically there are three types, which according to which different scanners are made. For example, which are used in like for office, for just for biometric purpose, and then for identification, that is different, and then there is which are used in mobile phones. So different are there, and those three are basically optical scanners, and second one is capacitance scanner, and the third one is ultrasonic scanners. For any scanning machine, it is very important to use any wave, so that the friction ridges I just now explained before, friction ridges, it should calculate the distance through any of the waves. Now these, as by the name we could understand, optical means light waves are used, capacitance means electrical signals are used, and in the third one, and that is ultrasonic, sound waves are used. So these are the scanners, and basically what happened in this, how scanner actually works is, it accepts the image and then change or transcend into a digital code, which is then compared with a pre-scanned database or pre-occupied or pre-feeded database. So actually all the three scanners works on this phenomena, that it accepts the image into any form, which is creating by different forms, light form, electrical signal, or sound waves. Then it is changing into digital understandable format, so that the computer understands it into a code. We have studied in like small classes when we are studying about binary system and how the computer understands our language. So these scanners, first part is to change into computer understandable form, and that is changing through codes. After that, it is the second thing is comparison. They will compare, the scanner will compare it with the pre mentioned database, because we have feeded it already into that system with the help of a software. Scanners only work is to scan it and then transcript into a digital understandable format. After that, the software works, that it compares it with a pre-feeded data, and it will give then the result whether it is matching, not matching. In this way actually all the scanner works, and the difference is optical, the light waves are used to scan the image. Just optical works in a very similar manner like photocopier machine. We have seen photocopier machines. There is a image created by throwing the light onto that glass surface. From that, friction ridges are because a hill like area, so they will interact with that, come back, and there are some ccd chips are used. So this is actually light emitting diodes. They accept these interaction with friction ridges and then create an image, a digital understandable image. Navita, audible now?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, audible. I
Okay.
got it, ma'am.
And then after that, capacitance are there, which works on electrical signals, and it is generally used maximum time, the mobile phones which are smartphones which are we are using nowadays, that is the scanners based are capacitance scanner. Electrical signals are used to measure the distance between two friction ridges, and then that is how they identify and feed the data.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, how does the fingerprint scanner in the mobile phone or in other electronic devices, like as you said in the workplace and all, how does they work? Is there any ways to collect fingerprints from them, like the powder method or some other method to collect fingerprints from them?
Okay, okay. Working, actually, your first questions I've already gave the answer, that these are the different scanners which are used, and in mobile phones generally capacitance scanners are used, electrical based scanners which interact with ridges. All of these scanners interact with ridges, and then they create an image. Actually, it is an inverted image because they are interacting and then putting it back to a sensor. So they are creating an inverted image which is then analyzed. In workplaces generally, the first one, that is optical scanner, are very commonly used. And then ultrasonic scanners are also used, but they have different, all scanners have different advantages and disadvantages. Optical are very most oldest one and very commonly used, but it does not like work very well with optical and capacitance. Both, they do not work very well in wet, like if the fingers are wet or something like that. So it has a disadvantage there, but ultrasonic has this advantage that it can work. But the disadvantage of ultrasonic is that it takes little bit of time. I think iPhones and iPads have ultrasonic based scanners. And office scanners, as I told, optical scanners are generally used. And the phenomena is same. It is connected with a software. It scans the images with different waves and then transcript into a computer understandable format, and then compare it with a pre-feeded data. If something goes wrong, for example, if the fingers are pressed very lightly, then it will again go to step one and it will give a beep like structure. Beep can be listened when somebody press it like wrong way, or any wrong finger somebody is pressing against that biometric sensor, then it will beep, showing that the data which we are feeding is not matching with the pre-feeded one. So beep indicates that you have to start again with step one process. That is, again we have to scan it. And then there are different, because generally the plates are made up of glass. So the same method we can, what we are using over non-porous surfaces to collect latent fingerprints, the same type of methods we can use for collection of latent fingerprints from these types of scanners. But one disadvantage is there, that many people are using it like again and again. So there will be chances of finding more and merged fingerprints one over the other in these types of cases. So it is little, it can be developed surely, but the result will not be very clearly, like we cannot give any result if merged fingerprints were present.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, can a common man in India have any resource to find the fingerprint database?
Common man. Actually, it is a very controversial question whether a common man can access it or not access it. Common man, it is not accessible, but uh, NCRB, we have heard about it. It's an organization, National Crime Record Bureau. It's a bureau which organizes and keep and store data about different types of evidences, data related to criminals, victims, suspects, everyone. And there is one branch of NCRB, and that is CFPB, Central Fingerprint Bureau. Actually, there is the system to record the data of criminals, those who are involved, not just criminals, suspects also, because criminal is the term which we give somebody when he or she is convicted, like proved guilty. But suspects also, before proving guilty, they give their data. So in a way we have data of criminals, and this can be searchable pan India, like all the police stations of any area in India, they can access this data to match, because they have to match it with criminals or pre-recorded, or somebody who has already done crimes before. So it helps us to match with those types of people who have committed crimes before. But there is no such accessible data by common man. Police station pan India, they can search it for example, if a person is from Tamil Nadu, and the description is there that a person from North or Central India has been seen committing a crime or suspect, so they can request the organization to let them search for the fingerprint match, so that they can check it with NCRB CFPB data whether that person was already registered criminal or registered suspect or not.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question: how is quality control and quality assurance is performed while doing your fingerprint analysis?
Quality control and quality assurance, this is not just very important step in fingerprint science, but every science stream which is actually forensic science is the application of all scientific methods for the purpose of justice. So for any field, quality control and quality measures plays a very important role, because this helps code the system, the justice system, to rely on evidences, to rely on science. If it is not quality assured, we cannot rely on the reports of scientific experts. So it is a very important process, or you can say it is very important to maintain while conducting any kind of examination on fingerprints. There are talking about quality control, it is actually about how what should be the quality control includes like manual. See, acha, again talking about, because CFPB is one of the most important organization, Central Fingerprint Bureau, all the protocols are already mentioned by them. They have manuals which we all over the India, if any FSL fingerprint bureaus is present, they will follow their manual. So this is like quality control and quality measure, that all the protocols provided by the main organization should be followed while examining any of the fingerprint evidences pan India. So manual is provided by them, and this is about India, like CFPB is India based organization. Then there are different agencies worldwide which has created some norms, which has given different definitions, which has given different methods, and which has given different procedure to be followed, and it should be followed in that format. For example, we have studied also that chemical methods like all randomly are not used to develop print. There are some destructive techniques, there are some non destructive techniques. So it is very important to follow the protocols, otherwise the evidence will get ruined. The quality from which we could have get it extracted it will not get the best result, because we are not following the proper protocols. Swecfast is one organization, scientific working group of friction ridge analysis. They have given a list of protocols which is accepted worldwide, so these are the organizations which help to maintain quality assurance level when examining fingerprints.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question: Who is the number one in the field of fingerprint in the world and in India also?
Number one in fingerprint. It is a very biased question. Number one, how can we assign somebody as number one? Because there are so many scientists working very hard in the fingerprint science to prove, to make different research, to analyze different types of objects, how to develop prints. There is not any one person to be given credit or to be proved number one, although we all know that father of fingerprint is Sir Francis Galton, because he has developed, he has given us the, like, the base of, if a house is constructed, he has given us the base on which the full system is there. So father of fingerprint is Francis Galton, and then there are so many people, Henry, and then Joan Vosetich, who has done so good work, William Herschel, who has put fingerprint into actually practical field. See, theory and everything is okay, but putting such scientific methods on practical base is very important. So William Herschel is there. But if you are asking like that, in India there is one examination conducted, AIBE, All India Board Examination of Fingerprint Experts. This is specifically one exam again which is conducted by NCRB under CFPB, Central Fingerprint Bureau. They conduct one examination every year. They conduct it, and results, actually, from the basis of that you can say, this is number one expert. So it is an examination conducted specifically for fingerprint experts, those who have done research or, and worked in the fingerprint area for like 3 years or more than 3 years. They are eligible for these exams, and then at last year, 2022 also they will conduct examination. 2021, if I remember, Sankal Priyanka was one lady who topped this exam rank. On the basis of that we can say she is on number one position, and I think she belongs from Maharashtra. So this on the basis, because this is only the main exam of fingerprint experts conducted in India. So on the basis of that, we can say she is number one. But although all fingerprint experts are doing great job, and this is just a measuring test, but being number one means if somebody is able to take this fingerprint expertness and playing a very important role in any to solve any case, they all should be called number one, because they are doing the best job to bring justice to someone.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, are there any misconceptions or anything else about the fingerprint examinations that would be important to the non-scientists?
Misconceptions. No, I think no, because now fingerprint has become very common term for a layman also. They know that these are unique. They know how it works because of technology again, because it is introduced in smartphones, and smartphones are like, even if a beggar is there, he or she may surely have smartphone, whether 5 rupees in the pocket or not, but they must have these smartphones, and that too fingerprint sensors will also be there. So fingerprint sensor, face recognition, nowadays like everybody is very aware about how these technology works. This makes us, even if they don't know before that fingerprints are unique, after using the smartphone with a fingerprint sensor, they know that only from my finger it will open, that means it is unique in nature. So there are less misconceptions, but there are some limitations that, for example, sometimes there are some diseases from which the sweat is not, some people have very dry hands also. So from, if they are touching on the surface, it is not like, the possibility is less of getting fingerprints. Then using gloves, these are like the limitations, you can say. Misconceptions I have not seen yet from any, like, heard about somewhere regarding fingerprint. There are some other misconception about like the whole field.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, what is one lesson your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point of their life?
One lesson that I have taught. There are many lessons when you learn when you do when you start doing job. Once or another day, every day will be a lesson, like you have to do this way, you have to do this way, this is the correct way, this is the wrong way, maybe I should have done that in this way to so maybe the result would have much been better. But one thing, like the most important thing I've learned is doing hard work. Hard work is the only way to reach anywhere. Nowadays smart work is another terminology which is very like common among youngster, and they believe on smart work. But I am an old school girl, and I have seen myself that the result of hard work cannot be achieved on the same level as by taking any shortcuts. So whatever will be the result, the hard work is the only way out. There is no other way. That I've
Okay, ma'am.
learned in my experience.
Okay. So, ma'am, is there any limitation in fingerprint analysis?
Limitations are there in every field, in every science branch, in every aspect of any field. There will be surely always limitations. Because of these limitations only we grow, because if there will be no limitations, we will stop on that particular stage. But if we find any limitations, that is how we are still growing. Because limitations are there, then the person, the experts, the scientists, they learn how to overcome it. So limitations are many. If because explained in the first question that it is deposited, the fingerprints are deposited when we touch any object. But if there is any surface or any kind of material present between our hands and the object, then the fingerprints will not get deposited. Example, very common example is using gloves. So and now criminals, laymen, everybody is aware that using gloves will prevent their deposition of fingerprints. So it has become a very like important limitation in our field, because people already know, they know that fingerprints are deposited, and if they get caught, it is very easy to match the fingerprints with them, so they will get caught. But they are now knowing about how to prevent these also, like using gloves or using any kind of material which blocks the way by touching their hands onto any surface. And then sometimes environment factors plays a very important role as a limitation in fingerprints. Then collection methods, basically environmental methods, environmental factors also is a very, if it is an source. For example, I told about when I was explaining about these methods: sunlight, dust, open air. If it is not properly collected on time, it we will lose most crucial evidence. And environmental factors plays a limitation in our fingerprint, because it is a degradable, it is not degradable like very fast, but yeah, it proves to be very obstruction when going to solve cases.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, what is a common myth about fingerprint collection?
Common myth about fingerprint collection. um, Common myth is that on from a surface, actually I've seen there are people who do not understand the concept of different types of substrate. There are two basic types, non-porous and porous. They know which method to perform. They know which method to be performed while lifting the fingerprints, but they do not understand the concept of surfaces. And it is very for a fingerprint expert, is it is equally important to understand the difference between porous and non-porous surface, because these two we can employ two different methods on those two different surfaces, then only it will give best result. If we employ a wrong method over a wrong surface, it may reduce the quality of results. So like myth is there, not myth, but again you can say a limitation of our field is people very well, scientist, not scientist, I'm not talking about everyone, but I've seen general common that they know about methods, they know about lifting technique, everything they know, but understanding the substrate is very important to to um, make sure which best method to be employed on that.
Okay, ma'am. So, according to you, what is the most challenge in a forensic career?
Forensic career. If I talk about 2022, there are the challenges has been reduced to a very wide level. Like if I talk about 2014, when I was entering, like when I was started pursuing my graduation, nobody even knew about the term forensic. Just 7 years ago, not more than that. So the challenges has been after that, and at that time I have not heard of any examination like this much. Now in 2022, most of the forensic pursuing students, professionals, they all know how different types of ways to get ahead into their careers. For example, research, then fact examination is recently conducted, and then there is net, there is teaching line, there is expert CFSLs through, and nowadays it is very frequent also that they are putting out vacancies, although it is on contractual basis, but it is there. People are applying on the basis of direct interview, they are taking, they're hiring. So it is one of the these are very aware in 2000, everybody is aware, like 2022 challenges were more there previously, but with each passing year, at that time I have heard about only UGC net, other than that I didn't knew about anything else. But with each passing year, forensic science is growing to like more higher levels, so challenges are reducing, although still there is a lot to be improved now. Still, there are more vacancies to be needed as the number of forensic students are increasing on a very vast level. Equal number of opportunities should be provided, and there are so many private organizations also which are working very well and which are giving chances to freshers. So I think challenges are very much reducing, but only thing again I told my what I've learned in my entire job career, that is hard work. People give up very fast thinking that this field is not, like this field not give me anything if I do not have any source or anything or like that. But it is not there. If you do hard work, challenges will be overcome.
Okay, ma'am. So, I would like to ask, what is the one piece of advice that you'd like to give for a person who is coming to the field of forensic?
One piece of advice coming to the people who are starting in forensic, like who are starting, okay, starting job or starting studying graduation.
A person who is
Actually starting
going to
job,
the
they have already this much of experience, so I'll give advices. The basic needs to be strong. As forensic science is the application of science, all the scientific methods for the purpose of justice, so it is very important to focus on basic science. If you understand well the concepts of chemistry, physics, biology, like all the basic sciences, it will be very easy for that person to pursue further in forensic. The more strong the base is, the more good the house will survive to very extent level. So base should be very strong, and it will get by studying, it will get only by studying, by doing hard work. But they should understand that Only reading the application will not help them. To make the base strong of basic science subjects is very important. As we can see nowadays, it technology, like using instruments, very common and very there are so many sophisticated techniques which are employed now for solving cases. If you do not understand the concept how it works, it will be of no use if you know the working also. But if you know the working, you will be lab assistant. If you know the concept behind it, how it is working, you will be the scientific officer. So knowing about the basic is very important. Who is starting? Who is starting? If the because from starting itself, if they create a very good base, knowing all the principles of different techniques which is based on, it will be very helpful for them when they pursue, when they use it on practical aspects.
Okay, ma'am. So, what are the three books that you would like to recommend for the audience about the forensic fingerprint and why you would like to recommend it?
Okay, for basically for fingerprint. There are many books, but personally, which I prefer is there is one fingerprint analysis book, and the author is Hilary Darlos. That okay, Hilary Darlos. I'll talk it about later. First one I'll recommend for all like who is starting to study about fingerprint is Surendranath. The first thing I think the title is Fingerprint Analysis and Understanding. The title is this, and Surendranath is the author name. It's a very, very, very good book for those who are starting to study fingerprint, like knowing about the techniques, knowing about how fingerprint works, and then very minute details are mentioned in it in a very simple, understandable format. So it is the best book to start for those who are starting to study about the subject fingerprint. Then the next level book is to go after Surendranath is Hilary Dalos. These two I would recommend to use, and Hilary Dalos is like as it is a foreign author book, there are many things which are included on a world basis, but the some things which are not mentioned in the Surendranath are mentioned in those books, and that book is also like described very effective, very in a very constructive manner. You will understand the book, although also the concepts which are less like missing in Surendranath. So first Surendranath, then the second advanced book, Hilary Darlos. One of the like best books I have came I've seen. And then third book, actually recently I have read about one book. It is written. The author is a fingerprint expert, and I have came across this book very recently. Padmanabhan is the author name, and it's a very good book for practical exposure because he is a retired fingerprint expert. He has mentioned all the for theory. Surendranath and Dalus are very important to read about the theory to understand the concepts, but after that you can go for this Padmanabhan book. And I have I have not known about this earlier. It came across recently, so I don't know the year on which it is established. But I came across, and I found it very helpful for the from the point of view of practical application, because he has mentioned so many more details which is practically observed and not given in theory books. So A.M. Padmanabhan is one more.
Okay, ma'am. So, let me ask you the final question. So, where can our listeners find you online?
Online mail is there, email. Neelam Ahirwar 06 @gmail.com is my mail, and I'm very much frequent visit to my email. So anybody who is interested, who have any query related to fingerprint, they can contact me through email. And then LinkedIn also. I'm available in LinkedIn also with the ID name Neelam Ahirwar. So if somebody wants to communicate, they can surely communicate through email or LinkedIn.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving your time for us. That was a great section. We learned a lot about fingerprint, and we are so pleasure to have you as our guest. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Navita. Thank you for inviting me. And from my side also, it's a great session to interact with, to share whatever I have. Although I am like not that much experienced, but whatever I have learned, I've tried to communicate it for the best, for those who are listening, for those who are learning. I, I I hope that it will be helpful for someone.
Surely, ma'am, it will be. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Navita.